Matt Diavella released a video which touched on the 10 rules that changed his life, and while I myself resonate with a lot of them, it was rule number 1 that I try my absolute best to live by day to day, and today I'm going to talk about it. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reece, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why it is better to be 1 hour early rather than a minute late. Let's start by watching what Matt has to say about this rule.
These are 10 rules that changed my life. Starting with rule number 1, it's better to be an hour early than a minute late. I remember back when I was in college, I was chronically late to everything. Classes, events, birthday parties, you name it. I used to think if I have a meeting at 2 p.m. and Google Maps tells me it's gonna take 15 minutes to get there, I better leave at 1:45 p.m. at the latest. But what about the time it takes to get to your car, the traffic along the way, finding parking, walking from your car, and all the small unexpected things that sometimes interrupt our days? The problem is that when you're late, you're sending a message that you don't respect people's time, that you're unreliable, and you generally don't have your shit together. And in a professional setting, that's gonna seriously limit your potential. And in a personal setting, it's just plain rude. And the thing is, it's really not that difficult to show up on time. The solution? Plan for buffer time and double the amount of time you think it'll take to get to your appointments. And if you happen to get there a little bit early, well, that's better than being a minute late.
Now, Matt went over this pretty quickly, and he makes some very good points, but I want to expand on this further because I have been doing this for as long as I can remember, and there are definitely some very good examples from my past experiences that I think would be interesting to cover. Now, I would consider myself to be a very busy person, juggling a full-time job, YouTube, maintaining a pretty consistent fitness regime, my personal life, and just the general day-to-day jobs that life throws my way can at times be very overwhelming. You would think that I would aim to be on time rather than early in any setting, being someone who is relatively busy. However, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 because no one ever gets it 10 out of 10, I always seem to have time to get to whatever activity or event that I'm going to a little bit earlier. Now that time frame will vary depending on what it is that I need to be early for, but I always seem to get there even a little bit earlier than I need to. As a really good example, I remember back when I started interviewing to kickstart my career as an engineer. For these, I would arrive almost an hour early and sit in my car and go over any notes or important talking points that I wanted to get right in the interview. Where in this scenario, I believe it helped me calm my nerves ready for the interview, as well as showed my potential employer that I was punctual, which would have absolutely given me an edge over someone who may not have been as organized. Another one is that I also try to get into work a little bit earlier before I'm supposed to start. I'm not talking a huge amount of time. It might be 5 or 10 minutes, but the reason for doing this is so I can just settle in, take a moment to see what I've got on when it's kind of quiet in the mornings when I start, there's not a lot of people around, and it just gives me that opportunity to see what I need to do for the day and get energized, ready to go. And it also helps with the commute because from time to time, there are blockers, things like roadworks, there might be a collision on the highway into work when I do go into the office. So this is a good way for me to ensure that I'm actually going to be on time and not tardy, I think is the word. In Italian, it means late. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this today is because I do know quite a few people who are often late. And while it doesn't matter that much for every scenario, there will be times where it will reflect quite badly on their behalf. I remember very specifically a story that my uncle told me about a man that he was managing who was consistently late to work. How late he was each day always varied, but I remember a very specific time frame when he said that he was late almost an hour every single day. And I do remember my uncle explaining to me that they were tracking his movements, so they had grounds to dismiss him, which is eventually what took place. The guy lost his job and he probably didn't even think that he was being watched in the background. Not holding yourself accountable to your obligations and your commitments can impact the other recipients of that time. And if it impacts them enough, eventually they might hold you accountable. Taken straight from Matt's video, being late makes you look unreliable and it seems like you don't respect people's time, which in my opinion is accurate. In a professional setting, it will limit your potential, and in a personal setting, it is just plain rude. I like how Matt touched on the really simple stuff. The recommendations he made should be common sense to ensure that you arrive on time or early to wherever you're going. but for many that doesn't seem to be the case. If Google Maps tells you it's going to take 15 minutes to get to your destination and you have to be there on the hour, don't leave at 1:45. Leave a little bit of extra time to allow for any unexpected blockers. Use a calendar, set reminders, and build the habit of using these tools to assist you in planning ahead. If you are going somewhere and you do end up being early, make sure you use that downtime to do something that's important to you. I myself have endeavored to read every single day since the 1st of January 2021 and have been able to do so with a surprisingly high amount of success. If you are interested in understanding how I've gone about achieving this particular goal, I've linked some videos down below which I feel might be helpful to anyone who's interested in learning more about that, so feel free to give them a watch. And while I'm here, if you're interested in learning about the other 9 rules that Matt touches on, I've also linked his video down in the description below. He's a massive creator, so I'd be surprised if you haven't heard of him before, but I thought it was a pretty interesting watch. And I'm talking about his number 1 rule today, but he had 9 others which he touched on, which were pretty interesting as well. So feel free to give that a watch as well. And while you're at it, if you could hit that like and subscribe button down below, it really helps the channel grow. I really do appreciate the support, and it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you if you did take the time out of your day to quickly do that. Anyway, back to the point that I'm trying to make. Whenever I leave the house, I make sure to take my book with me, just in case I have any opportunities where I arrive early and can squeeze a few extra pages in there, so I don't have to read them before I go to bed at night when I'm a little bit more tired and sleepy. It's always a good way to get my quota covered, and if I do it during the day, then it allows me to do other things at nighttime, which is very valuable to me. Sometimes when I'm early, I update my calendar. I plan out the tasks that I'm going to have to do on any given day, or sometimes I just have a moment to myself. It can be nice just taking a breath when you have a bit of time to yourself. Now, the main reason that I wanted to make this video is because for the first time in a long time, I was late to a catch up with a very good friend of mine. The feeling that I had when I saw his text message come through as I'm here and me realizing, oh shit, I'm still in bed and I'm about 20 to 30 minutes away, it really started getting my heart pounding. It really was a good reminder to make sure that I am organized and that I do get to my destinations early, because I am wasting other people's time when I organize these types of catch-ups. And if I'm not holding myself accountable, then it's just going to fall apart. I'm going to lose these friendships because eventually they're going to get sick and tired of me being late to things. Truthfully, this is something that I pride myself on, and it has helped me build a reputation as someone who is reliable. And I encourage you to give it a go if you're someone who doesn't make good time. And if you already do this, fantastic. Keep doing it. It will pay off in the long term. And that is pretty much all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it was insightful. I hope it gave you something to think about. If it did, please hit that like and subscribe button down below. Like I said, it really does help the channel grow, and I really do appreciate the support. And I will leave you there. Have a good day. Have a good week. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.